Hey babe, I am back today and I wanted to discuss today 10 ways that feminine energy has completely changed my life. So, most of you guys know my story. I used to be super in my masculine, and I love my masculine. Divine masculine energy has saved my life in many situations, especially when I was a single mother and just having to be the divine masculine in mine and my son's life. So I really honor and respect my divine masculine and also the divine masculine in all beings. But feminine energy is very near and dear and special to my heart as well. So let's begin by talking about the difference between how I view divine feminine energy versus feminine energy. To a lot of people, there may not be a difference, but the way that I sort it out in myself, there is a clear difference to me. So when I talk about divine feminine energy, what I'm referring to is our connection to source. How plugged in are we? How much in flow are we? So when I think of divine feminine energy, it's how I'm representing source, how I'm representing the part of God that's love light. And the divine masculine obviously would be the part of God that's consciousness. That's why the divine feminine or masculine is tied to freedom, because consciousness is nothingness, is freedom from suffering, right? So that's how I see divine feminine. Feminine energy is that animation here on this plane, on this planet. So, how I'm taking that part and representation of God and how I'm choosing to animate that here on this planet is my flavor. It's my feminine energy. So, just thought I'd mention that because I'm not sure if I've ever talked about that before. So, 10 ways how feminine energy has saved my life. I made a list, but I didn't think too much in it because I do better when the words just kind of channel and flow out of me. So, this one isn't on here, but I must say this, that I feel more at ease. I feel more at peace because I identify as a feminine essence being. And yes, I do have a lot of masculine energy as well, but that probably represents about 20% of me, the masculine side. And the feminine side is where it's easy for me. It's my native, right? It's where I can rest. And I had lost that connection through a series of traumatic childhood events where I was forced to, through trauma and things, be in my masculine. And again, that served me really, really well when I needed it. And now I still use my masculine energy, but in ways that are more intentional and not more survival, right? If that makes sense. So I changed the list now. So I guess this is going to be 11 ways. But really, I'm going to say that it feels most native to me. So I'm not using up so much of my adaptation energy, right? It's not causing fatigue to be someone that I'm not, because I can be at ease with who I am, which is a feminine essence being. Number two, then I'm going to change the. Number two is I make most of my decisions, if not all at this point, heart centered. I do not have a story around my decisions. Story comes from the brain, and the brain has served Homo sapiens well, but it is now outdated because we have evolved in our consciousness much faster than the brain has had a chance to catch up. So if you know anything about evolution, you know how long it takes for that rewiring to happen. And if we don't destroy the species and the planet before that, it will be millions of years before the brain, if ever, catches up. So we have to take responsibility for that. We must know that the brain is a mechanism designed for survival. It does not relate to happiness, to joy, to bliss, to successful relationships. It only relates to survival. And so I no longer have any stories in my head. I have the stories, I don't attach myself to them, and I make my decisions heart centered. What that means is that my powerful electromagnetic field of the heart is leading me. And we now have over 30 years of actual science and research on how the heart is just so much more powerful from the brain, and it gets messages from the superconscious a lot faster than the brain. In fact, the heart is constantly communicating with your brain, and the heart is also constantly communicating with your gut microbiome, and same with your brain. So there's this really beautiful and just very magical sort of communication that's constantly happening within you. And if you want access to some of that juice, if you want to be powered by that versus your mind chatter, you need to start connecting with your heart. You need to start opening up your heart. And if you want more help in that, that work is in the Sacred Feminine Intensive, which I will link in the description box. So I lead my life through heart-centered decisions. No more of that mental chatter. And I am in relationship with the divine masculine, both universally and in my marriage. And so when we do need more of that raw, logical, rational thinking skills, I've got my husband to fall back on, because he identifies as a divine masculine being, and he can gladly do that stuff for us as a unit. So number 2 is I feel really grounded and really, or this is number 3, I'm sorry. I changed the numbers. Okay, number 3. I feel really good and grounded in my body. My body feels really fully animated. I'm not like dragging my body along in autopilot or in automation. My body is me, like I'm in my body, like I'm animating the body, right? And so because I'm animating the body, my body is constantly communicating with me. I've got sensations in my body that inform me about my emotions and what I'm feeling, and I can use that information to then be a feminine oracle to my partner. And that's something that I'm teaching this Friday, November 5th, inside of the Divine Union course. So if you have that course, you are grandmothered in. Join us on Friday. The link to join and the time and everything is in the course dashboard. If you're new to my work, or if you haven't taken the Divine Union, now would be an excellent time to do so. Okay, because we're learning. This is 2 hours of live training on how to be that feminine oracle. Number 4 is that fun and pleasure is a major priority in my life. So the divine feminine is love light, right? And when you are animating that love, and the flavor that I animate, at least my flavor of love, is based on just this really high vibration of fun. And this is not just me saying something that I imagine. So many of my friends and family members and you have told me that that's my flavor, like that's my resting flavor. So my life decisions, my business decision, my relationship decisions, my parenting decisions, my health decisions, like all decisions that I make are from the heart, rested in, is this going to bring me fun and pleasure, or is this going to make life complicated and take me away from fun and pleasure? So that's definitely a huge thing, because when I was in my 20s and I was in my masculine, I was very much cut off from my fun, from my pleasure. Like it was there and it was like it showed up, but I wasn't fully in it. Like I wasn't allowing it, right? Like I had snippets of it and it was always kind of there nudging at me, but I had to be very functional and practical. Like that was just the reality of my life at that time, right? So that's really, really changed. Okay, so 5 is magnetism and playfulness. I no longer have to chase, pursue, convince. I no longer have to drag, carry, pull, right? None of that stuff. I just rest in my being. My experience of my life is very much inside my own being and inside my body. I don't soul hop and worry about what he's thinking, what she's thinking. How can I convince her? I have my own experience going on in my body, and the people that resonate with me, they are just magnetized towards me. And the people that don't, they run for the hills. And I love that, because we are not for everyone and everyone is not meant for us. So there is just this natural kind of magnetism and playfulness. And it's like an open revolving door. Like people come in, I can have a fun experience, and people flow out. Same thing with money, same thing with experiences. I don't have to like claw or beg or borrow or steal or do any of that stuff with people's energies or opinions, or you know what I mean? Like it's just very much like, okay, we'll see what our experience is like today. without having to mentally drag people into it, right? Okay, 6 is my relationships have a lot more depth. My relationships before were it was like a hungry ghost. Like my heart was collapsed based because of the trauma I had been through. And so it was like I had this ocean of love to give, but only a pinhole of it, right? I often use the example, we've got the oceans of depth, oceans and oceans of depth of love available, but I was showing up with a shot glass. And it didn't feel good because I could intuit that there was so much more. I mean, the divine feminine can intuit the black hole, the infinite potential of love in the cosmos. And all I had was this much to receive and give because my heart was collapsed. So that has been a major opening for me, is that realizing that other people weren't at fault, that I wasn't bringing the depth of the ocean or the black hole or the cosmos to the relationships interactions. So that's the feminine's job, right? We bring the depth. The masculine brings the direction, we bring the depth. Okay? And so we've got to take responsibility for our own power. 7 is life is easy. Life is plugged in. I am fully receiving guidance from the universal forces, from God, from angels, from guides, and the signs are always there. I literally just put my hand on my heart and say, God, please show me the answers to this thing. You put this desire in my heart. Please guide me. What am I supposed to do with this? Where do you want me to do? Put my talents to good use. And then I start seeing all of the gifts. I mean, that open flow communication, I believe the signs were there all the time. But because I wasn't connected to my femininity, I couldn't see them. I couldn't feel them. I couldn't tap into them because I was very much on a mental plane. When you are in your feminine energy, time moves differently for you. Communication is different. You experience pleasure, life, people, ideas on a whole different paradigm. It's so intangible and so hard to explain, but once my clients open up their heart and they start tapping into it, they feel it. Like when you know it, but it's like being in a completely different paradigm. Now, I will often get knocked out of this and I'm like, eek. Why is life feeling hard all of a sudden? I need to plug back in, right? And all you have to do is plug back in and life gets to be easy and fun again. 8 is I have so much power. I was the queen of giving my power away and then blaming other people. And when you are disconnected from your power as a woman, as the divine feminine, you have this kind of persona on the outside, but you're like really scared and weak. So when I ever hear a woman out in public doing that, like, you know, back off, or like, give me the manager, or like that kind of a vibe, that's a scared woman. That's a scared woman. That's a woman that has given away her power. So when you have to wear armor on the outside, you have given away your power. Because when you are a truly powerful woman, when you're lit up from the inside because you're plugged into source, you don't have to do that. You can be so soft in your energy outside because you know your true power, okay? You are co-creating with the universal forces. You don't have anything to worry about. You don't have to do your mama bear, okay? You don't have to do any of that. That's exhausting anyways. Who wants to be doing that? Okay, so 9 is when I connected with my feminine energy, and how it changed my life is I became a manifestation queen. Now I can manifest from the divine masculine too. It just takes a little bit more work. It just takes a little bit more force. It takes a little bit more of an uphill. Now that there's nothing wrong with that, but as a woman, my native is feminine energy. So it is so much easier for me to call in from that native kind of come and get me energy than it is from like chasing energy, right? And so I've done that before and there's nothing wrong with it. That's how I had to create in my 20s. And that works too. It just, as a woman, it burns you out a lot more because that's not going to be your most native energy. All right. And okay, so 10 is I have a lot like lower stress, or I would say no stress. I can bounce back really, really quickly. All I have to do is plug into the divine feminine, no stress, and I am so much more healthier. In fact, I felt so much older and less vibrant in my 20s as I do in my 40s. By the way, this is my birthday month. Today is November 1st when I'm recording this, and I'm so excited because I turned 41 this month, and so okay, that's a whole other topic. So I feel so much more younger and lighter and more vibrant. And one thing I've also noticed in the last few months is that more of that crone energy is activating in me, and I'm really excited to see where that leads me, because it's a new phase of life. And I feel the signs that I'm getting is that I will be fully in my crone power in my 50s, but I see some of that kind of activating now. So that's really a really fun, different flavor of the divine feminine that I get to now animate on this planet. Number 11 is more joy. It's more joy. I often talk about in my programs that the masculine energy is more of the drink 3 cups of coffee, swallow your feelings, go out there and get the job done kind of energy. Feminine energy is more of the high-end energy, because feminine energy requires rest. It requires surrender. It requires letting go. It requires ritual. It requires a lot of fun and play. It requires time and space, right? And so I get to be the more high-end energy. I get to be the queen that rests. I get to be the queen that has the people, the worker bees serving me and making sure that I'm okay. I get to be the goddess that's connected. Oh, this is a great way to do this. Okay, so divine feminine energy is the goddess. Feminine energy is the queen. And here's the difference. So divine feminine energy is your connection to source. Queen is your connection to people, because the queen is of the people and the goddess is of God. I hope that helps you explain that. See, I wouldn't have put that in my notes, but it just kind of channels out and flows out like that. So definitely more joy in my life, more inner peace. That sukoon word, that Arabic word for inner peace and enlightenment that I often refer to, that has been my highest value for at least 15 years, if not more, in my life. I would say probably around 20 years. That has been one of my highest values, is Sakoon, that all is well, that all is well. So join me this Friday in the Divine Union course if you want to really learn how to become that feminine oracle so that you can guide the divine masculine. You know that saying that the masculine is the head, but the woman is the neck? That is so true. We are the feminine oracle. We guide and train the masculine. We are the neck. We sway the head any which way we want to. So that's what we're talking about in the Divine Union course. That course already has hours and hours. Just the bonus trainings in there are 19 hours, okay? That is life-changing, deep inner work. You're going to be mind blown, paradigm shifted in that program. And this Friday, November 5th, we're doing a 2-hour live special on how to get your needs met, how to get your desires done and checked, how to communicate with the divine feminine. A lot of it is actually non-verbal communication, but we've got some verbal communication in there as well. How to do that with the divine masculine, the universal divine masculine, and the divine masculine that is your father, your brother, your son, your man. So that's happening. It's linked in the description box. I love you guys. I'll see you on Friday. Bye.